With a narcissist, you don't know until you know. Some of you guys already know what I'm talking about. After you have come to understand what narcissism is, let's say you've gone through at least one really good round of abuse, that cage match from hell with the demons where you're getting tossed around in the cage. You didn't know what you were in for. You had no idea. They didn't tell you. They led on like they were something completely different than they really are. We know how this works. They wore the mask. If you've really been through a real nice, vicious cycle with one of these people, and then you figured out what they are, you got the knowledge of what narcissism is, that there are people who play by a particular playbook with their own little wrinkles and stuff, their individual distinctions, but they do mostly the same things, just maybe in different ways. And once you come to realize what you were dealing with, and you have those light bulb eureka moments, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is actually what happened. And then all the mess of healing from it and all of that good stuff that comes afterwards. You might think this will never happen again. I'll never I'll never in any way, shape, or form fall for anything like this ever again. And well, that's true and it's not. Because the problem is with a narcissist, you don't know until you know. So, what I mean by that is, even if you have the knowledge and the wisdom, sorry, I shook my camera there. Even if you have the knowledge and the wisdom, you start to encounter a person, you cannot just go into it, into a potential talking, dating, relationship situation, potential. You can't just go in thinking that's a narcissist because you'll never get started. You know what else you also cannot do? If you ever hope to actually have a relationship again, if you want one, you may not want one. You have to give the person you're interested in at least a little bit of the benefit of the doubt on certain things. Because some of you guys rightly pointed out from a couple of videos, or maybe the last video, there's no such thing as meeting somebody in your 30s, 40s, 50s onwards who doesn't have any baggage or any red flags at all coming into it. That's not going to happen because people have lived their lives. You come in on paper at least, you and I, we all come in with some red flags to some degree. That at least on paper, they're red flags. If you get to know us, you realize, okay, I don't have to worry about this. But it doesn't look necessarily good. Say you've been divorced. It doesn't look good. Whether it's your fault or not, on paper, it doesn't look good, right? So somebody who's getting to know you, if say they've never been maybe divorced, they might feel like, well, I need to give the person the benefit of the doubt. Maybe the divorce wasn't their fault, or maybe they had blame, but they've owned up to it and they've changed and they've adjusted things. But that's the problem, guys. When we encounter new people, we cannot simply write them off from the first thing we see. And this is why you can find yourself in a situation again with a narcissist, even if you really know all about it. Yes, it can happen. I'm going to tell you how. First, though, I want to say this. Once you do understand who they are truly, a narcissist is never going to get you the same way again. You're not going to, in my opinion, they're never going to actually obtain full power and control and get you under the spell, the trauma bond, and you are in this terrible, miserable place and you just can't break away. And you're not going to get to that point again. At least I'm not going to. Most of you probably aren't either if you understand it, because you do see these things coming. You do pick up on all the different things as time goes on, and you're like, oh, that looks familiar. I'm going to put that, I'm not going to write them off yet, but I'm going to put that in my back pocket because that was familiar. And then you see other things. Oh, seen this one, seen this one before too. We put that in my pocket. And at some point, you reach enough of those things. But it's kind of what I want to get to. But they're not going to get you as badly as you were with the narcissist who taught you all the lessons, and if you figured it out. But here's how you can still get entangled with one to a degree, even if if you've got a narcissism channel. Okay, let's just say that it can still happen to a degree because you don't know who they are. They do masquerade. They do hide. They don't come straightforward with things, of course. Um, but you give the benefit of the doubt. And I know that's a dangerous thing. We all understand that now. But you have to some level, when you meet a new person. You can't just say, oh, well, single mom, single dad. Some people do that. But what if you're a single mom or single dad? Hypocritical to just write somebody off for that. It can be a red flag. It can, depending, but maybe not. So you can't write somebody off for that. Maybe they've been divorced. Can't just write somebody off. So you give them the benefit of the doubt and you get started, right? Get started in that process. The person is probably very good to you in a lot of ways. They are probably putting on that, you don't know it, but they're putting on a face and they're kind and they're nice and they're good to get along with and they've got their life in order. Maybe they'll send you pictures of when their child is sick and they're going to send you pictures of them holding their child and the child's asleep on their shoulder. And you think, that's cute. That's really nice they sent me that. She seems like a good mom, doing the right things. I'm not going to believe it just yet, but she seems like she is. Taking care of her child when she's sick. They'll send you nice texts or they'll do nice things for you. They might send you a gift, thoughtful. They might invite you to an event that they're hosting or having. And their family might be there. And you think, well, that's kind of neat. I mean, I wasn't like exactly introduced, but I was kind of introduced to her family, and that's kind of nice. She must think a lot of me. These are the sorts of things that whatever it is, they'll do, right? They'll do this stuff because you think you're starting to build something. You don't know them yet. You don't know until you know. But little slowly and little by little, things start to emerge, and you're like, okay, well, they just brought up. I just paid this person a compliment of some sort, and they brought up a time when another person gave them a similar comment and how great that compliment was. And you're like, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure that's triangulation. I think I just got triangulated. But you're not really sure because it's like someone could make that comment and maybe that's not what happened. I don't know. I'll remember that, but maybe that's not what was going on. A little more time goes on and they bring up another person that did this for them or that for them. And you're like, okay, this just happened twice. This happened twice now. Pretty sure I'm being triangulated. Not totally sure, but I'm starting to feel like I am. The niceness is still getting mixed in there. You're still having great conversations, maybe a good date here and there, and sending you pictures, more pictures of her with her kids or him with the kids. And you're like, okay, I mean, some things are showing up, right? But it's not enough that you just want to break it off. Not yet. Time goes on. This time, out of nowhere, they're critical of a shirt that you're wearing, and they're going to tell you that it's too small for you, or it's got fuzz on it, and you need to use a lint roller. Which that stuff, you could say that and not be a narcissist, but it's kind of cutting the way they do it. And you're like, okay, I remember that. So my compliments aren't good enough, and this person did a compliment better, and that person entered the picture and was brought up, and now there's comments about my clothes, and hmm, time goes on. More and more of these little things show up, but keep in mind again, these aren't the things that would send you running for the hills. You've got suspicions, but you don't know. And so maybe conversations usually go a particular way. And one night you're having a conversation, texting back and forth. You're at home, they're at home, both have the kids or whatever. So you're not seeing each other, you're both at home, and you're having a good conversation, and suddenly they just say something really strange out of nowhere. Like they had sent you song lyrics at one point in time, and they called you a what a man. There's a song, What a Man. I think it's Salt and Pepper. It's an older '90s song. And it was supposed to be like kind of a cute compliment. You're what a man. And so you were just bantering back and forth. It's kind of fun. And you're like, well, I haven't always been a what a man. And they might say, I doubt you ever were. And you're like, huh? That's kind of that's kind of weird. No explanation. Just a cut. Just a cut. And you're like, all right, well that was weird. And then maybe a few times later, you're still having good conversations overall. Little clues, you're piecing some things together, but you don't know yet. And then later on, you have a conversation that week and it's going well. And then all of a sudden, they just drop off the face of the map, face of the earth. Conversation is moving, it's going well, and then just boom, you just don't get a response back and you're left on red the whole rest of the night. Sometime maybe tomorrow, the next day in the afternoon, you just get a message that says, sorry, I fell asleep last night. And you're like, really? Really? It's kind of customary if you're really getting that tired and you want to go to bed and you're texting somebody back and forth to say, well, I'm getting tired. I'm going to go to bed. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Or something, anything. Saying, I got to work early. I'll text you tomorrow. Have a good night. Something like that. But no, they just disappeared. And you're like, all right. That's weird. But it was just the one time they did it. Okay, so maybe they did fall asleep. Maybe honest mistake. Do you see how this stuff works, guys, already through going through this? This is how you can know what narcissism is, but still be getting sucked into the narcissistic trap because it's not obvious enough. You have things you need to see. You stick around, just as I had done in the past, with not the narcissist, but another one later on. And you stick around because you're seeing these things, but you haven't seen enough. And there are things you need to know in order to actually say, yeah, all right, I got it. I know what I'm dealing with. Narcissist. You can see how this works. But things continue to go on. You're putting the clues together. And then you're like, it's going well. It's been a week. Like we had a nice date. Ask when we can do it again. And we've got another one set up. Go on the date. Right? It's fine. Nothing bad happens. Nothing even weird. But at the very end of the night, they say something strange to you, or they do a strange gesture, or they act real awkward all of a sudden. And like, you were gonna try to walk me out to my car or something. That's weird. Don't do that. That's weird. And you're like, what? Why is that? Why is that weird? Why is that strange? We've been talking for months and we've gone on some dates, and why would it be weird that I walked you to your car? But it was. And then maybe after that, they inexplicably don't text you when they get home. They leave you on red. Did you get home okay? Don't know. And then days later now, they text you and say, I don't know. I don't know if I want to date anybody. So you've been ghosted. And as you look back on it now, you're like, wait a minute. Yeah, I got ghosted clearly, but I got ghosted actually a couple other times when you really think about this. But I swept it under the rug because I wasn't sure if that was what was happening or the person was just really busy with work. They were going through this, that, their child was sick. Okay, I get that. But now I know that was ghosting. And this is the big one. This was the big ghost. And by that time, maybe you've pieced everything together and like, all right, okay. This is a power play. I was ghosted so that I would come chase after the person. And then at that point, like in my situation, I'm like, no, I know what this is. I've seen enough. I really didn't want it to be this way. So I gave the benefit of the doubt, and I didn't want to pigeonhole the person and see a few things and just say, no. But now I've seen enough. I know what I'm dealing with. I've got critical remarks. I've got ghosting. I've got triangulation. I've got breadcrumbing. And I didn't even talk much about that, but maybe they breadcrumbed you for a while and said, yeah, we'll go out. Sometime we'll go out. Sometime we'll do this. But they don't ever quite want to do it. So that happened too. And you're like, well, am I being breadcrumbed or is the person just really cautious? Because they're telling me they're really cautious about dating and getting into a relationship. Well, I can appreciate that. But I kind of also feel like I'm being breadcrumbed because at some point, the person might want to do something if they actually, just to see if we're interested, just to see. But they kept you on that trail. And then by the time you realize the other things, you're like, okay, that wasn't caution. That was breadcrumbing. All right. So you see all the pieces fit together? Even though you knew what narcissism was and you knew the game and you were catching these things and putting them in your back pocket, putting them in the memory bank, the times you got triangulated, you're like, I don't know if that's what it was, but I'm going to remember it. Oh, there's another thing. Oh, and then another one. All right, triangulation's going on here. The breadcrumbing, you put it all in your memory bank. But none of it, mostly along the way, was enough for you to really say, okay. Does it make sense? Guys, these people are so treacherous and so sneaky, the way the devil is, that they masquerade and they take on different forms of the way they appear to people. And you don't want to think everyone's a narcissist. You don't want to just go into it thinking, well, the first thing I see, I'm out of here. You can't function that way. You can't get into a relationship ever. You're never going to have anybody if you function that way. First thing I see, I'm gone. I mean, if it's egregious, sure. But little, and that's what the narcissist does. Little bit, piece by piece, they reveal themselves. Little bits at a time, little bits at a time. And the truth of the matter is, you don't know until you know. Until that certainty hits. Until that major cataclysmic thing, maybe they did something crazy. And you're like, all right, that settles it. But maybe they didn't. Maybe they just did a bunch of little things that built up until you finally got to the place where you said, all right, seen this movie before, seen it before, I've seen enough. But you don't know until you know. So guys, this is the thing is people will often think, well, now that I've been through it, there's no way I would ever get involved at all with a person like that again. That's not true. You can still get involved with them, not viciously. If you're smart, if you're wise, if you use your knowledge and the tools you have, you won't get down the road with one of these people. Okay? But it doesn't mean that they can't kind of capture you a little bit, that they can't kind of pull you in a little bit, because you're giving the benefit of the doubt, because you kind of have to a degree. You don't want to write people off. You don't want people to write you off for one or two things or whatever that they think. And so you see it, but you bit by bit. And they're sprinkling in really great behavior, especially early. Remember, mostly really good behavior, then ooh, then good behavior, then ooh, then ooh. And the triangulation and manipulation, all that stuff trickles in. So guys, this is why they're so hard. They're so difficult. Knowing it, knowing them, having the wisdom is crucial. It's so empowering. It's a life skill if ever there was one. It's a superpower. But it also doesn't mean that you still won't have to deal with another one in the future. They're everywhere. You probably will. If you have any interest in dating or being with somebody, you got a decent chance that they're going to be a narcissist. But you don't know that until you know that. So guys, thanks. Drop comments below if you have insights and things to add. Appreciate all the viewers and the subscribers. I'll come at you with another one soon. Till then, God bless.